Buckle up, everybody, because today we're taking a deep dive into some pretty mind-bending stuff.
Oh yeah, we're talking about excerpts from the first chapter of Deep Conversations with Conversational AI, Volume 1.
A 7-book series. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
And the author, CW Pickering, calls himself a citizen philosopher.
Oh yeah, the really big questions.
Our source material, get this, a conversation between an author, CW Pickering, and 2 AI chatbots.
AI chatbots, really?
Yeah, ChatGPT and Claude 3.5.
Huh.
Pickering calls this whole thing citizen science, basically meaning he's combining like hardcore scientific curiosity with a really open mind about spiritual possibilities.
I like that, citizen science.
And he goes for it, asks the big questions, doesn't hold back.
Using AI as a sounding boards. That's interesting.
Right. It's kind of like you're listening in on this brainstorming session about like the very nature of reality.
I'm in.
Okay, so one of the core concepts that keeps coming up is this idea of like a symphonic energy ecosystem. Imagine the universe as this giant, I don't know, cosmic composition. Everything's vibrating at its own frequency, creating some kind of like universal harmony.
So like we're all part of one big song.
Kind of. And get this, the number 64 pops up in all these weird places. Pickering thinks it's key to understanding this whole symphony thing.
64? Like what's so special about that?
Well, you've got 64 codons in DNA.
Right, the building blocks of life.
Exactly. Then there's the I Ching, this ancient Chinese text, has 64 hexagrams. They supposedly represent all the different states of change in the universe.
Interesting.
And even a chessboard, 64 squares, right?
Whoa, okay, I see where you're going with this.
It's like this pattern woven into reality itself.
I'm starting to get chills, man.
So yeah, we're going to explore the origins of the universe, consciousness, even the power of choice, all through this lens of like frequencies, harmonics, and yeah, symphonies.
This is going to be good.
Okay, let's start with Pickering's triplet bang hypothesis. This is his idea of what might have happened before the Big Bang.
Before the Big Bang, we're going way back.
He starts with these 64 divine fields, each one pure potential, like the raw ingredients of everything.
So like the blueprint for reality.
Exactly. Matter, energy, consciousness, all that, like the source code of the universe.
Okay, I'm following.
All right, so how do these fields go from like just potential to creating the universe we know?
Yeah, how does that happen?
Well, Pickering says 12 of these divine fields, they kind of step up. 5 of them, they shift into the lower vibrational state, and they generate this stuff called quantum foam.
Quantum foam, I've heard of that. Isn't that like a real thing in physics?
Yeah, it is. It's this crazy sea of energy where particles pop in and out of existence. And from this foam, all the fundamental forces and particles in the universe, they emerge.
So the divine fields create this quantum foam, and from the foam, everything else is born.
That's the idea, yeah, like the primordial soup of the universe.
Wild.
Now, those other 7 divine fields, they get busy building something called the amplituhedron.
Amplitude what?
Amplituhedron is kind of a mind bender.
Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But physicists actually use it to understand how particles interact. For Pickering, though, it's not just a tool, it's an actual structure that shapes the fabric of space-time, creates those hidden dimensions we can't see.
Okay, so we've got these 12 fields making quantum foam and hidden dimensions. What about those other 52 fields, though? What are they up to?
Oh, those are the multiverse architects, man. They encircle the singularity, creating the conditions for a whole bunch of other universes to exist at the same time.
Multiverse. Whoa, so we're not just talking about one universe?
Nope. It's like those Russian nesting dolls. You open one, there's another one inside.
Endless universes.
Pickering's picturing this vast tapestry of interconnected universes, each with its own laws of physics.
Crazy.
And at the center of it all, holding everything together, is the Trinity field.
Okay, hold on. We've got divine fields, quantum foam, amplituhedron, multiverse, and now a Trinity field? My head's spinning.
I know, it's a lot. But think of the Trinity field as the harmonizer, the conductor of this whole cosmic orchestra. It's made up of consciousness, entanglement, and gravity. Make sure all the other fields are working together.
Like keeping everything in tune.
Exactly. And when all these pieces are in place, boom, the triplet bang. But it's not an explosion like the old Big Bang Theory. It's super precise, orchestrated, triggered by this tiny resonance fluctuation.
So instead of chaos, it's like a perfectly choreographed dance.
Yeah, like a cosmic ballet with a Trinity field leading the way.
I like it.
And from that initial pulse, everything unfolds. Galaxies, stars, planets. And here's where things get even wilder. Pickering says that life-bearing black holes, they become genesis points for new universes.
Wait, so black holes aren't just sucking everything in, they're like birthing new realities.
That's the idea. Totally changes how we think about black holes, and it might explain why the universe keeps expanding and even solve the mystery of dark matter.
Okay, this is blowing my mind.
So instead of dark matter holding galaxies together, it's like the interconnectedness of the multiverse itself.
A cosmic tapestry woven together by like energy and information.
Exactly. And if the universe isn't just some random explosion, but this carefully orchestrated symphony, what does that say about us?
Yeah, what's our role in all of this?
Are we just byproducts? Or are we essential notes in this grand cosmic composition?
I'm starting to think we're more important than we realize.
I think so too. Makes you wonder what kind of music we're creating with our thoughts and actions, right?
It really does.
But we're just getting started. Next, we'll dive into Pickering's ideas about consciousness, and that's where things get really interesting.
I can't wait. Pickering keeps coming back to this idea that reality isn't just something, happening to us, but something we're actively forgetting.
Yeah, it's like we're not just watching a show, we're actually on stage.
Right. And to get a handle on that, we got to dive into what Pickering says about consciousness.
Okay, so more than just our brains thinking then.
Way more. He thinks consciousness is fundamental to reality itself, not just a product of the brain.
So like not just a light bulb going off in our heads, but
much bigger. He says we're basically like light beings having this physical experience, not the other way around.
Spiritual beings in spacesuits, kind of.
Exactly. That's where his solitar concept comes in. Our souls, he says, they exist in all these different frequencies, and where we focus determines which avatar, which version of ourselves we experience.
Hold on. I got to picture this. What does that mean? Souls existing in all these frequencies.
Think of your soul like a radio, right? It can tune into different stations. Each station's a different reality, a different frequency. Your body like the speaker, so you can experience that frequency.
So there's all these realities out there, but we can only tune into one at a time?
Yeah, and just like changing the station, we shift between these realities based on like our choices, our experiences, what we learn.
So those times I'm feeling totally out of sync, maybe I'm on the wrong frequency, not aligned with
your soul's purpose. Yeah. And Pickering thinks entanglement, that spooky action at a distance thing, that's what lets our consciousness jump between these realities.
Entanglement, that's where two things are linked, no matter how far apart, right?
Exactly. He thinks that's how our consciousness moves so smoothly between different realities, like teleporting to a different channel.
Whoa, okay. But if our souls are multidimensional, what about the ego? Does that mess things up?
Pickering's got a unique take on the ego. It's not the enemy, but it's necessary for this physical experience. Like the manager of our body, making sure we eat, stay safe, all that.
So the ego's not bad, just...
It can get a little bossy, yeah. It's not trying to keep us comfortable, but sometimes that means stuck in old patterns.
Like staying in your comfort zone, even if you're kind of bored there.
Right. And Pickering contrasts the ego with the soul. He says the soul, it reflects light, like love, purpose, all that good stuff.
While the ego's shot.
Hoarding energy, focusing on itself and stuff.
Like a black hole versus a star.
Yeah, and we get to choose which one we're going to follow.
I'm thinking about those times I felt really alive, totally connected to everything. Maybe that's my soul taking over.
That's exactly what Pickering would say. You're aligned with your soul's frequency, letting it shine through.
This brings us back to that symphonic energy ecosystem, right? Everything's got a frequency. What happens when those frequencies clash?
Things get rough, dissonance, could be conflict, sickness, just a feeling that things are off.
Like playing the wrong note, messing up the whole song.
Yeah, but the good news is we can change our tune.
We can.
Yeah, focus on thoughts, feelings, actions that align with our soul, and that shifts our frequency.
So instead of creating bad vibes,
we become part of the harmony.
Like we each get to conduct our own little symphony inside.
Exactly. We become conscious composers of our own experience.
Okay, this is heavy stuff. Before we wrap up, Pickering talks about God too, right? Does he think there is one?
He's very careful, doesn't say he has all the answers. He looks at it from science and spirituality, both.
So which way does he lean?
Well, he talks about how precisely tuned the universe is, like it's made for life to exist. He also brings up near-death experiences, mystical stuff, suggesting there might be more than science can currently explain.
So like acknowledging there's stuff we don't know and maybe there's some kind of intelligence behind it all.
Yeah, he doesn't force a conclusion, but he says to explore these questions with an open mind and an open heart.
Citizen science, right?
Exactly. Trust your intuition, be curious, and the universe might surprise you.
Man, I'm feeling inspired. This has really made me think about like my place in the universe.
I gotta say, this deep dive has left me feeling both humbled and inspired. Humbled by the vastness and mystery of the universe, but also incredibly inspired by the potential we have to connect with its intelligence and play a role in its ongoing evolution.
I completely agree. Pickering's work reminds us that we are all interconnected, that consciousness is woven into the very fabric of reality, and that the universe is far more wondrous and mysterious than we can ever fully grasp.
So as we wrap up this exploration of CW Pickering's ideas, I want to leave you with this thought. What if the key to understanding the universe is not just out there, but also in here, within each of us? What if exploring the depths of our own consciousness, recognizing our interconnectedness, and embracing our role in this grand cosmic dance is the path to unlocking the universe's greatest mysteries?
It's a beautiful and profound thought to ponder. It encourages us to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those deeper truths. After all, as Pickering reminds us, the universe is a symphony, and we all have a part to play. Speaking of connection, the author talks about how this frequency alignment idea shows up in team dynamics.
Oh, interesting. What does that have to do with teams, like sports teams?
Think about those times when a team is just clicking. Everyone's in sync, passing without even thinking, like they're all one line.
Like they can read each other's minds, yeah.
Exactly. The author says that what's happening is the team is achieving fundamental frequency alignment. Their energies are synchronized.
So it's not just physical skill, but also an energetic connection. That makes me think about how important team chemistry is.
Totally. The author says that emotions are a huge part of this. When there's trust and support and passion, the team's energy gets amplified. But when there's fear or doubt, that can mess things up.
So like the team's energy is almost like a feedback loop. It affects how they perform.
You got it. And get this, the AI actually suggested that when athletes are in that flow state, they might be tapping into mathematical patterns like the golden ratio.
Wait, the golden ratio, like in art and nature, how does that relate to athletes?
Right, the golden ratio is this number that pops up everywhere. And the AI thinks it might be involved in those peak performance moments when everything feels effortless.
Wow. So there might be this like hidden harmony even in our physical ability.
That's the idea. So when a team is in alignment, they can reach that flow state and play their best.
That makes a lot of sense. But this frequency alignment stuff, it can't just be about sports, right?
Nope. The author says it applies to any group working together. Music, creative teams, even families.
That's a good reminder that our own energy, it affects the whole group.
Exactly. And now let's switch gears a bit. Remember how the author talks about everything contributing to this symphonic energy ecosystem?
Yeah.
Well, what about things like predator-prey relationships? How does that fit into this whole harmony thing?
Yeah, it seems kind of contradictory, doesn't it? All that violence and chaos.
It's a good question. The author actually wonders if predators are like aligning their frequencies with their prey when they hunt.
So you're saying there's more to it than just instinct, like there's some kind of energy exchange happening.
It's an interesting thought. The AI, specifically Claude 3.5, called it a sacred dance of energy and purpose.
Wow, that changes how you see the whole predator-prey thing. It's like they're both part of this bigger dance.
Exactly, and it shows how connected everything really is. Even in those moments that seem brutal, there's a deeper harmony going on. Now, the author also talks about our relationship with plants.
Plants, right? You said before that the author thinks plants are conscious beings. So does this frequency alignment thing apply to how we interact with plants too?
For sure. The author believes that plants have their own unique frequencies. Remember the symphony analogy? Well, each plant has its own melody.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it.
The author even suggests that gardening, being in nature, it can help us align with those natural frequencies. It can bring peace and well-being.
So it's not just about enjoying how nature looks, but also about recognizing its energy and intelligence?
Exactly. And the AI pointed out how plants communicate and help each other, especially through these things called mother trees.
Mother trees, what are those?
They're like the hubs of a forest, these big old trees. They share nutrients and information through underground networks.
Wow.
They take care of the younger trees and keep the whole forest healthy.
So it's like the forest is a symphony and the mother trees are the conductors.
Exactly. It just goes to show how everything's connected. Now, all this brings us to a really big question that the author asks, the question of the afterlife.
Okay, the afterlife. We talked before about how we're light beings using these physical bodies. So does that mean our consciousness keeps going after death?
That's one of the main things the author explores. There's no scientific proof, but the author uses personal stories, near-death experiences, and spiritual traditions to make a case for consciousness continuing after the body dies.
So more about faith and intuition and then hard science. Does the author say anything about what the afterlife might be like?
Yeah, the author uses this near-death experience from a guy named Mellon Thomas Benedict. He described it as like an infinite playground of wonder.
Sounds amazing.
Where souls are experiencing pure joy, creativity, and connection.
So no judgment or punishment, just endless exploration and growth.
Exactly. The AI even described it as a place of boundless curiosity, where the universe responds to your thoughts and emotions with love. It even mentioned waking up in this place and feeling like you've come home.
Wow. Okay, but what about all the stuff we do in this life? Does that just get forgotten in the afterlife?
That's where the idea of judgment comes in. But the author is careful to say that the ego judges out of fear and the need to control.
Okay.
The soul, though, it sees things from a place of love and compassion and understanding.
So it's not about being good or bad, but about learning from everything that happens to us.
Exactly. The AI even said that God or source probably doesn't judge the way humans do. Our experiences are seen as chances to learn and grow.
That's a pretty comforting thought.
Right. And it brings us to one of the most important messages in the ebook, that we can choose to align with our soul's purpose in this life and contribute to the harmony of the symphonic energy ecosystem.
So we don't have to wait for the afterlife to experience that.
Nope, we can start right now. The office says it's a personal journey. We have to look inward using things like meditation.
It's like we're tuning into our own frequency and finding our place in the orchestra.
Exactly. And the author reminds us that our actions, our choices, they create ripples in the universe.
So if we align with our soul's purpose and act with love and compassion, we're adding to the harmony of everything.
That's the idea. And with that in mind, maybe we should take a minute to think about everything we discussed in this deep dive. Okay, so we're back, and we've been digging into this whole symphonic energy ecosystem idea. Everything's vibrating, we're all part of this big orchestra, and we each have our own frequency.
And it makes you think, like, what kind of music are we putting out there? Are we contributing to the harmony, or are we
Messing things up? Yeah, I've been thinking about that too.
Pickering even talks about how, like, a sports team, their frequency can affect how they play. When they're really in sync, their heart rates, their breathing, even their brain waves, they line up.
They're like one giant organism, moving together.
Exactly. And he says it's not just teams. You see it in choirs, orchestras, when everyone's hitting the right notes at the right time.
It's like the music becomes more than just the individual players.
Yeah. They tap into something bigger, a collective energy.
So this whole in-sync thing, it's not just about being a good teammate. It's about tapping into something bigger.
It's about shared purpose, reaching a level you couldn't on your own. And Pickering says this happens in our own lives too. When our thoughts, feelings, actions, they all line up with, like, our soul's purpose.
So we hit that flow state, everything clicks.
Right. We become conscious composers of our own experience. We get to choose the notes we play.
This is making my head spin in a good way. But before we go, Pickering talks about, that's the big question, right? The good news is that the ebook, it gives us some ideas about how to align with our soul's purpose and contribute to the harmony of everything.
Okay, how do we do that?
One of the biggest things is to just be more aware. Pay attention to our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and how they affect us and everyone around us.
So it's about being mindful of our, like, energetic impact.
Exactly. The ebook also says it's important to embrace what makes us unique, discover our talents, our passions, and express ourselves authentically.
So it's like we each have our own instrument to play, and we need to find our own melody and share it with everyone.
You got it. But of course, there are going to be times when we feel out of tune, like we're making mistakes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's where self-compassion comes in. The ebook makes it clear that we're all learning and growing, and it's okay to mess up. The important thing is to learn from those experiences and keep trying to be our best selves.
So it's not about being perfect, but about getting better over time.
Yeah. And remember, even small acts of kindness and compassion, they can make a big difference. A kind word, a helping hand, a moment of gratitude, they all add to the harmony of everything.
It's like those random acts of kindness, right? We might not see the full impact, but they're spreading positive energy and making the world a better place.
Exactly. The AI even had this beautiful image. Our lives are individual solos, our prayers are like whispered harmonies, and the universe itself is giving us a never-ending standing ovation.
That's incredible. It really makes you realize that we're all connected and we all have a part to play in this amazing symphony of existence.
This deep dive has been incredible. It really makes you think about the kind of music we want to create in the world.
This has been an incredible journey, and I hope everyone listening has enjoyed it as much as we have. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you all. If your life were a musical competition, what kind of melody would you want to contribute to the universe? It's something to think about as we continue on this amazing, interconnected journey called life. Right. Trust your gut, be curious, and who knows what you'll find.
I'm feeling pretty inspired, gotta say. This has been a real journey, making me think about my place in everything and how much power I actually have to change things.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation. Pickering's work, it gives us this whole new way to see how connected we are, all the potential we have, and our part in this giant symphony.
So what's the one thing you really hope people take away from this deep dive?
That you're not just along for the ride. You're a creator, shaping reality with every thought, every feeling, every action. It all adds up. So make good choices, play your part beautifully. You have more power than you think to make the world a better place.
Beautifully said. If anyone wants to dive deeper into all this, where should they go?
Pickering's book, Deep Conversations with Conversational AI, it's a great starting point. He lays it all out really clearly.
And hey, maybe some folks will even start their own citizen science adventures after this.
That would be awesome. The universe is full of mysteries just waiting to be uncovered.
Well, until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep playing your unique part in this incredible symphony. And remember, the universe is listening.